Hey, beauty, if you are spending way too much money on supplements, if you feel like focusing on your health is just too expensive, if you feel like money is one of the biggest roadblocks to improving your health, this episode is for you. I want to encourage you to get started. Don't let money be a roadblock. Do not let anything be a roadblock to getting started on your way to a healthier you.
If you want to move away from modern medicine, if you want to discover healthier alternatives for your family, if you want a healthy body, then you're in the right place. Hey beauty, I'm Alexandra. I'm an author and clinical research nurse who discovered that Jesus is the source of true healing. I am the Lord your healer. Exodus 15:26.
When I ask women what their biggest roadblock is to improving their health, some women say that it's just too expensive to focus on their health. And they also say that money is one of the biggest roadblocks to improving their health. The truth is, once you start down this road of holistic health, alternative health, some people say that you have to take all these supplements, you have to take blood tests every few months or something like that. They talk about PEMF mats, light therapy, sauna, cold plunges. They talk about seeing all these different holistic specialists. They tell you to avoid certain foods, add certain foods to your diet, and then everyone says something different. So I can definitely relate when people say that money can be a roadblock, especially if you feel like you have to buy all these devices or you have to make all these visits to specialists. That can definitely add up. I've seen specialists before who have told me that I have to keep coming back every 3 months, either get a blood test or get some kind of testing. I mean, testing can be good. It's good to have the data. However, blood testing or any type of testing is not always accurate, especially if we don't understand the full picture or know what's going on. And the truth is that we're all human and no one knows everything that's going on in our bodies. In fact, I always say that I feel like we as humans know very, very little about what is really going on in our bodies, especially if we don't look at the body holistically. So that's why I always say we always need to be going to God first for his wisdom. He's the one that made our bodies. I write about this in my book, Discover God's Health Wisdom, exposing 8 common myths that keep you sick. When I was having my health issues, what I did was I kept changing my diet. I kept taking things out, putting things in. There got to a point where I was so confused that I dropped down to 90 pounds. I don't want it to be that way for you. I want you to go to God first instead of trying all these things that can potentially be really expensive. The truth is that there are so many things that you can do that don't cost a ton of money. Before I had health issues and I really wanted to change, I really wanted to make a positive change to my health. What I did first was I cut out pop from my diet. I stopped drinking pop. And now I really only drink pop like once a year or something like that. And then after that, I really made it a priority to eat more fruits and vegetables because back then I was basically a junk food queen. I didn't prioritize fruits and vegetables. Maybe you need to sleep more. Maybe you need to go on vacation. Maybe you're just really stressed out. Maybe you need to quit your job. Maybe you need to work on your relationships or start setting up boundaries in some of your relationships. Maybe you really need to forgive others. Maybe you need to ask someone else for forgiveness. Maybe you really need to focus more on caring for yourself rather than caring for others. As women, we fall into this trap, right? We take care of everyone else. And then when it comes to us, we're just so tired. We're so stressed out, maybe a little resentful because we feel like we always have to take care of everyone else. Let us not get to that point where we're neglecting ourselves, because the truth is that God loves you just as much as he loves your children, your husband, your sister, your friend, your elderly parents. I always say, if your child, if you have a grown child who's not taking care of herself, you would say to your grown child, "Hey, you need to take care of yourself." People say this all the time, but it's true. It's like when you're on an airplane, and if for some reason you need oxygen, you need to put the oxygen mask on yourself before you help other people, because if you don't get the oxygen mask on yourself, you're going to die. You're not going to be able to help anyone. You will die, and the person next to you will also die. So this is something that we as women, we have trouble. We have trouble prioritizing our health. We have trouble prioritizing our sleep, our diet. But everything that I mentioned here, these are all free things that you can do. I was listening to a podcast. This woman, she was having, I forgot what health issues she had, but she went to see a functional medicine practitioner. Functional medicine practitioners can be great, but once again, sometimes you end up going through all these blood tests, and then they might prescribe you all these supplements. So she started there. She started with a functional medicine practitioner, but it didn't really help her. And then somehow she started learning about circadian rhythm biology, I think it's called. She was just basically waking up when the sun comes up. Basically, light really affects our health. Natural light, artificial light. It affects our melatonin levels. It affects our just different hormone levels like cortisol and other hormones. So if we're not sleeping, if we have insomnia, this wreaks havoc, huge havoc on our hormones. So what the lady did was, I think she started waking up with the sun, and so her hormones started to be reset. And then once this happened, she had all these health breakthroughs. In episode 130, I talk about one unusual swap for better health. In this episode, I'm talking about the different light bulbs in our house and how these can affect our health. In episode 128, I talk about how to calm down and reduce your stress level by breathing, a very strategic way of breathing, a couple ways. I mentioned a couple ways in this episode. All this to say, there are a lot of free and affordable ways that you can improve your health. So I really want to encourage you to just start right where you are. Ask God for wisdom and start taking action. Unless he tells you to wait, you can take just a very small action. Like, if you think about a few things that I just mentioned, maybe you need to have better sleep hygiene. Maybe you need to turn off screens 2 hours before you go to bed so that you can sleep better. Or maybe you need to work on forgiving your dad for something that he did when you were younger. Maybe you need to seek out a mentor or a therapist, someone to talk to about the trauma that you experienced as a child. And if God wants you to spend more money on a specialist, he will provide that money for you. So really, I just encourage you to get started right where you are. If you feel like you don't have enough money or very little money, or you're struggling with money, it's okay. God has given us so many tools for our health. Like I was saying, just breathing and sleeping can have such a huge impact on our health. It's also great to have an accountability partner. So wherever you can find one, if you know someone at church who has been really wanting to get into shape, if you know a coworker who's been really wanting to work on her health, You could find someone in health Facebook groups, wherever wherever you can find a person who wants to work on our health. I really encourage you to find that accountability partner and get started somewhere. You can also download my free guide. Go to herholistichealing.com/free, where you can download my free guide, Holistically Healthy Woman, 4 steps to move away from modern medicine for Christians. This guide will help you on where to get started. It asks some very specific questions. The guide is also in my book. I'll just read to you a couple questions. As far as spiritual health goes, here are some questions. Am I living by the principles in the Bible? Am I reading and meditating on the Bible? Am I spending time with God? Am I taking time for a Sabbath or a mini Sabbath? For mental health, am I focusing on what is true and good? Am I allowing false beliefs about God, myself, or the world to cloud my thoughts? Social health, do I need to stop isolating myself from other people? Do I spend time with wise people? Physical health, do I need to change, start, or stop a specific treatment? Am I getting enough quality sleep? Environmental health, is something in my neighborhood, school, or workplace making me sick? Do I need to spend more time in nature? So this guide will help get you started. So once again, if you're interested in this free guide, go to herholistichealing.com/free. That's where you can get this guide, Holistically Healthy Woman, 4 steps to move away from modern medicine for Christians. I just really want to encourage you, once again, do not let money be a roadblock to getting started. Do not allow confusion to be a roadblock to getting started. Do not allow a lack of knowledge stop you from getting started. Ask God for healing, ask God for wisdom. He will surely lead you. Trust in Him. James 1, starting in verse 5. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given him. But let him ask in faith, with no doubting, for the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea that is driven and tossed by the wind. For that person must not suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord. He is a double-minded man, unstable in all his ways. Thanks for listening today. If you like what you heard, would you take a minute to leave the show a review? If you want to connect with me, you can join me in my free community. The link is in the show notes, or go to herholistichealing.com. Matthew 11. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls.
For you, it's easy and my burden is light.
This content is for informational purposes only and is not meant to be medical advice.